Hey guys, what's up? Itchlaw coming back to ya with another episode of Car Rides Witchlaw. And today I think I want to talk about one of the, kind of critical differences between why I think I come to a lot of the conclusions maybe that I come to. I'm realizing because I was reflecting on the typical perspectives and opinions that are usually conveyed to me through the people I've talked to over time, and there's an ignorance and there's a lack of looking to analyze for solutions. And so what I mean by that is it appears to me that most humans just assume things are fine. And I'm assuming that's because for most of our lives, we never were examining things systemically. There was never really a need for that. Now, that still doesn't really make sense, though, because even in the past, we would have had to examine which foods were poisonous or not while foraging. So, that actually doesn't make... Oh, but you know what? That would be mostly visual. And that's where people are most judgmental. People are most judgmental visually. Judging people for their appearance, things that shouldn't matter in an intelligent society, that shouldn't matter, but it's paramount. It's paramount that people just judge based on smell, based on visual, and I guess that goes back to the most primal, lowest, and animalistic sides of humans. So I guess that does read, right? Because you look, how do you determine poison ivy? It's the 3-leaf. So then people try to make visual patterns out of how people look. And I mean, I guess I haven't really looked into it enough. It's possible that there's merit to that, but I've heard it was debunked, but I'm not an expert to disprove that people's, you could read a person based on their facial structure or their body structure. I've never looked into it, so I'm just not going to make a comment on it. I haven't looked into it enough. But I'm realizing that so people, I think it's interesting because what I was about to say was that people always assume things are good. That's sort of like a presumption that something's okay. And then I'm getting confused because there's obviously nuance to that. Like, people do judge people visually. They obviously judge people by how they smell. I think, very sensual, very the senses. So I don't know, I'm saying sense as in, a smelling scent, or senses as in senses. People are very judging of those things that don't really matter or shouldn't really matter. Again, in a civilized and higher thinking society, you're not thinking about how a person smells. You're not thinking about how a person looks. These are all things that are beneath a higher level brain. Somebody operating at, a different... They're all materialistic vanity. I think that's the problem. It's not that it's a problem per se. It's not that it's inherently this issue or anything like that. the problem is sorry, losing my train of thought, because I don't know, this car, they were like stopped at the stop sign and just weren't moving, and I don't know, it's like cracked me up. But that really threw me off from my conversation. So you could make the argument that a higher functioning society, it would be a bunch of people with good outfits and good sense and things like that. But I think that is a vain oversimplification, right? So you probably have what people would assume is a higher functioning society, where you have, like, everybody wears makeup, everybody has firefits. I'm just, everybody has firefits, and everybody smells nice, uses like perfume. Yeah. That's like what I think most people would see as like a higher level society, a society that is the function of it. But I don't think that's true. I'm trying to think of it from a law of attraction standpoint, because that's kind of what I feel like would be that idea of a better society, which is that, everybody just puts out so much positive energy, everybody gets elevated, everybody's able to do makeup, everybody's getting outfits that look good, everybody looks good. That's kind of the impression I get from that, and it's like, oh, well, all we have to do is raise our vibration, and then everybody will get better, everybody will fall into place like that. It's just, I guess I just don't see how it's true. I don't see how it's true at all. I mean, I haven't done a lot of research, quite frankly, into, how makeup works, but I know fashion is like just a very bad thing. I mean, for how many people are in America? It's probably not even 400 million yet, right? Or because I haven't like looked at it in a while. I know it was 300 something million for a while. I'd assume. Yeah, I feel really stupid that I don't know this, but I don't think we've hit 400 million yet. But I don't really know. I mean, it's somewhere around there. So it's only 500 million people, even if you round up. And if there's 8 billion people on the planet, that's a 16th of the population. And the 16th is a pretty low percentage. So if an eighth is 12.5, then a 16th is 6.25. So we could easily say like America's about 6% of the population. And then I guess if you added all the other developed countries like Europe and such, and I'm going to feel really stupid, but I want to say Europe is like 500 something million. I feel like that's wrong. The whole point is because even within the U.S. there's a lot of class disparity. Most people aren't rich in America, so you could easily say there's less than 1 billion people who are like actually rich. You know what I mean? And what I mean by rich, it's like it's less than 1 billion people of the 8 billion, which again, yeah. So you could. I feel like you could say it's really only 10% of the population that really can achieve perfection in terms of, again, wearing the makeup, having the fire outfits, being organized, having enough money and free time to have those peace of minds. It's probably only 10% of the population, of the global population. Because that's the thing, and what I was going to get into is fashion is usually at the expense of slave labor, basically. So, I mean, you have people who are into fashion and, like, they don't, again, it doesn't really matter. I guess it's because people don't see it, right? It's because people, like, we judge based on what we see and what we hear and what we smell. We don't, I think, like, an abstract concept like, oh, well, this clothing was unethically manufactured in this other country and it hurt these people. I think it's just a lot for people to process. Like, I just think it's hard for people to wrap their heads around that kind of stuff because it's not right in front of them. You know what I mean? That's kind of, I think, what the issue is. I think it's not explicitly there, so it's hard for people to wrap their heads around. I don't know. I'm genuinely believing that is the case, and that's the problem. Because you can tell somebody that, but I think people would have a different mindset about it if they actually physically went to the factory. It's so easy for people to say they don't care because we just see everything through screens, and a lot of people grew up seeing all kinds of gruesome visuals on their phones, and so it desensitizes people to these things. And then it would be very different if somebody actually had to go to one of these factories, if all Americans did. And I honestly think that could be what stifled a lot of the activism, is now there's just a lot of opportunity for people to be in their own shell and just not really be aware of what's going on and things like that. I mean, I just don't know. I just get the impression that is the case. It's a lot of ignorance regarding these things and topics. Just have a hunch that's one of the main things going on, kind of losing track of well, not really. I don't think I'm that off topic. So yeah, I mean, people, they judge things based on what's in front of them, and that's really the crux of it. And I do believe that. Like, I think if people actually, right, okay, I was talking about people being sheltered. Yeah, like if you're on TikTok and you just scroll through a bunch of stuff and just, but you're in your house, you're laying in your bed, everything's peaceful, everything's nice. You have no idea. You have absolutely no idea what is going on or anything like that. I mean, it would take a pretty considerable amount of conscientiousness to even care, I guess. I guess most people are dealing with their day-to-day drama. They're not dealing with larger scale humanitarian issues or things along those lines. And so it's selfishness, but it's an ignorant selfishness, because I don't believe that a lot of these people would, again, if it was, but I just don't think people's capacity is there to figure that out, to figure out the ramifications of their actions. And I'm using the clothing as one example, but it really goes into a lot of the deterioration that we see in American life, right? So a lot of people, especially if something is presenting as convenient, just assume that it's a good thing. and they don't really put any thought into it. So I've genuinely never met a person. I mean, I've seen YouTube videos of people talking about this concept, but I've never actually come across a person who was aware of this and whoever really took the time to think about it conceptually. So there's obviously people who engage in fast food, people avoid it because, they say it's unhealthy, okay. You have like two camps of people, and that's usually about it. There's not really a greater understanding of what fast food is or anything like that. Then you get into... Wow, I don't know how I lost my train of thought there. Then you get into why it's a problem. So, and I've explained this before, it just doesn't make any sense because it's not fast. Like, I would say my system that I have, that's fast food. It's fast. You know, you cook everything on Sunday, and then every other day you just reheat it in the microwave real quick. Takes like 2 or 3 minutes. I don't have to drive anywhere. I don't have to wait in any lines. I don't have to wait for anybody to make my food. That's what fast food is. Fast food is not fast. It's slow. It's inconvenient. It's costly. You know, you don't think about these things because nobody does for whatever reason. But yes, it takes resources to drive your car there. It takes resources like in terms of gas, but also in terms of just putting extra miles on your car, putting you closer to needing an oil change. Using the car is putting wear on the car. It's just putting extra miles on, even though small. It adds a tax to your total. It's not just what you're not just paying for what you're paying for from McDonald's. Now, that wear and tear and mile per gallon loss gets even greater when you're sitting in a drive-thru, because then you're low-key idling your car more, which is obviously not good for the car, and it's the least efficient mile per gallon wise thing to do. Leaving your foot resting on the brake pedal, wearing the brake line, wearing your brake lights for no reason, causing them to drain and deplete and get closer to burning out. So there's a lot of things I could go through. And yeah, it's horrible, right? I mean, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. And you don't think about it much, but it's cumulative. If you do this once a week, that's 50 times a year. It's not a good thing to do. It's not fast, it's not convenient, it's expensive food, and it's inefficient food is really what it is. The only convenience is a lack of need for executive function because, you know, it's less of an executive... Well, I don't understand how that makes any sense, but I guess it's less of a strain on executive function to just have to think ahead and plan as opposed to getting food out. I don't know. I mean, because to me it's actually a lower executive function strain, like big time. But I guess then you're also dealing with how everybody I've ever known always talks about getting bored of food that they eat. And to which I kind of snub that off as being like, I mean, how spoiled are you? Like, there's people who are dying of hunger in the world, and I mean, that's less of an issue nowadays, but it still is an issue. And in the past, it was a much greater issue for humanity, dying of starvation, but what is an issue is being under underfed, obviously. There's a lot of people who are malnourished or can't get enough food even if they can eat. But again, I mean, it's not as big of an issue as you would think, especially like modernization has made food much more excessive, if anything, too excessive, and now you have obesity as an issue. And you could argue that the side effects of obesity are more prevalent problems than the side effects of starvation at this point. There's probably more humans that suffer as a result of being overweight than underweight, because we're in this abundance society. And the truth is, it's actually really cheap to live, food-wise. It's just a lot of people buy a lot of stupid extra stuff. I mean, I recently looked at it. If the average American ends up throwing out 30% of the food they get at the grocery store, that's a ton of money, like over the course of years. And so it's just when people complain about costs being too high, I think it's just a lot of people who are just inadequate. Like I don't really know. It doesn't really make any sense. And yeah, it's just dumb. Just a bunch of dumb stuff and dumb people. Dumb people doing dumb things. Like it's fair, and I don't want to discredit. There is a real cost of living issue. There is. It's very real, but it comes down to systemic errors. And people errors too. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not just systemic. Like, and what I mean by that is, it's not like everybody who's struggling is necessarily I don't know. It's just, you don't have to buy anything, really. You just don't have to. And a lot of people think it's like a balance, and I've justified that too, where it's like, oh, well, it's good to have hobbies. I got this computer. I built my desktop. I didn't need to do that. It's just not, you don't need to buy anything. You never actually need to buy anything, besides food and necessity stuff. There's nothing you have to do. It's not like, I don't think these things really make people better people at the end of the day. As a lot of people try to say that, oh, traveling's good, it changes you. I don't know. I think, personally, I think thought and solitude is what changes a person. And so that's one of the reasons why I think most people do not end up as conscientious, is because they don't get that solitude. They don't reach it. Whereas I was just thrust into it, by fate, destiny, whatever you want to call it. I just was just thrust into it. But yeah, it's like, the thing is, I would probably be living paycheck to paycheck if I had to move out, So that is kind of a problem, because I'm living like really, really efficiently, and the fact that it would still be paycheck to paycheck is kind of you know what I mean? Like, that's me doing absolutely nothing. If I had to move out now, like, I would be able to function, but that's it. Like, I would never be able to do anything. So yeah, I mean, that is a problem, because I should actually be able to do well, because I'm doing all the things you're supposed to, like, not buying the extra food, not going out for, unnecessary things, and it still doesn't, something's wrong with that, I don't know. I think I do think there should be enough money to, like, if you're making basically minimum wage and you live a strict lifestyle. Now, again, I mean, you don't need to have fun on minimum wage. I mean, yeah, that sounds very cruel, but I think it's true. It's like you don't have to have fun necessarily on, like, you don't need blow money on minimum wage, you know, but I don't think it should be like you just can't function on it. That doesn't make any sense. But like I said, it's less of a needing a minimum wage and more about companies should not be allowed to do what they're doing, which I honestly should research this because I haven't actually looked into it, but it's basically I have a theory that companies pay people, they have some other company that kind of calculates what the minimum they can get away with is, and that's what they do. Like they probably see, okay, in the area, how much are other companies paying, and then it ends up reducing it down to a very low common denominator, right? As opposed to, here's a novel idea, why don't you base wages off of actual cost of living? You know what I mean? Like, why don't we actually just pay people based on how much it costs to live in the area? You know, as opposed to doing all this shenanigans to try to crank out the minimum. It's really gets me. Like, I don't know, and I wish I could talk to somebody about it at my job, but obviously the higher ups are not going to care about a lowly entry-level worker, what they're going to think or say or things like that. I mean, it's sad, it's frustrating, but that is the way things are. So I guess there should be some kind of a rule like that where, you know, you have to, the minimum wage wouldn't just be some like, oh, $15 an hour. That's not a comprehensive law. It's not. It's not a comprehensive law at all. It's very silly. You know, it's a silly rule, silly law. That doesn't really make that much sense. It should just be something that automatically changes and gets calculated, set to inflation and stuff. I mean, that's just what it should be. I don't know. It should just be automatic, that there's some kind of cost of living calculation, and then that's what minimum wage is. It shouldn't just be like market forces as low as possible. And yeah, now that, you know, there's other issues too with that. You'd have to have some kind of, and so that, I guess that's the thing, is you don't need to just set like a random number as a minimum wage. It needs to be like clear and comprehensive. I think that's like the problem I have with it. You can't just set like, oh, $15 an hour minimum wage. Because it's just, that's not, it's going to need to go up. It's going to need to constantly be changing, and it's location dependent. In some areas it needs to be lower, in some areas it needs to be higher. So it would have to be state and even city things, but it needs to just be an automatic thing that nobody can touch. You know, it just has to be a algorithm that, again, it just automatically does the right thing. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, you can't have it as something where somebody can just change it. Like, no, it shouldn't be able to get raised or lowered. Well, maybe you can allow it to be raised, because that's fine, but shouldn't, like, I don't know. It should just nobody should have to vote on anything. It's just the minimum wage should just be livable. But I mean, even that's confusing, right? Because everybody does have just a different cost to live. And it's not, I mean, it is like rich spoiledness, like that is a factor, but there's so many other factors too. I mean, some people just have way more expensive lifestyles, which is why this gets so complicated. Because even where I'm at now, if I didn't have a car and I didn't need a car, I actually may be doing like pretty okay for myself, you know? It's just that owning a car is very expensive and car insurance is very expensive, and those are both two systemic factors that you can't really do much about to avoid, you know? Like, I can't help it if insurance is as high as it is. It's just something you have to deal with, and it's a result of people being irresponsible. And I can't, you know, no matter how responsible I am, it just doesn't matter. I mean, even if they enact different systems, and a lot of this is also just problematic due to how they're making cars now. Like, they're just making cars way more expensive, not really for any good reason. I mean, they have these little safety features which are nice, but they're really not necessary. I've actually had mine off for months, and I don't know. It's like weird. Like, I don't know. Because the reason why I turned it off was actually last winter. So I've had them off for this whole, because it would be like every morning, oh, the safety system can't work because the sensors are covered, like by ice or whatever. You know, ice gets frozen over the sensor or something like that. And then, so I just shut it off because I, like, every single time it just wouldn't even be working anyway. And then I've just like forgot about it. Like, I never turned them back on. And it really doesn't matter. There's like a lot of times too, even with them off, it'll just like randomly tell me to brake, which I don't, like, I think it's just silly. Like, it's never when I should. Like, there's been times it probably should have told me to brake. Oh, well, it's probably because my foot was already. It's just been so random, and it's not that good. And all these things add so much extra cost. You shouldn't need anything. Like, I think the only thing that I would need or want in a car is Bluetooth. You know, like, if I had Bluetooth, but like, that could literally be it. Like, literally it. No screen in the car at all. None of that stuff. Just Bluetooth. Like, and you just had some, like, you know, I don't even remember what the word for them is. There's, like, you know, digital clock displays, right? How they used to be in cars a lot of the time. One of those things that would just tell you, like, what track you were listening to, or when you adjust the AC. I mean, why would I need anything else? It's just Bluetooth. And then you have your phone anyway. I don't even understand, like, the point of these cars with these screens. I mean, is it just for, like, vanity or something? It just doesn't really make any sense to me, because why would you even need that? Like, I just don't really get the point, I guess. It just all seems like such a silly load of nonsense to me. Yeah, of course. Oh my gosh, this light. This light's gonna kill me. And yeah, no, I don't think it's a camera, because I never see it. Yeah, I don't know, man. This light will just, yeah, and then it oh my gosh, it just changes back and forth all the time, and it's just very, like, infuriating, honestly. Just infuriating, man. But it is what it is, it is what it is. Wow, I lost my train of thought, but I thought this was a very productive episode. I don't know why. My brain was just working pretty well today. I've kind of been thinking a lot, trying to find my peace, and I think for some reason, thoughts are coming back, and maybe that is a negative thing about the mania, is it just kind of throws me in a loop of no thoughts or something. I don't really know how else to explain that, but that's kind of what it feels like, I guess. Just in a loop. It just throws you completely out of it. I actually may make a decent time after all. It's possible. Not guaranteed that I may get another late second jipper, but this could be good. Now I'm kind of doubting it. If I was speeding, maybe, but I just don't speed. But yeah, my commute could probably be shorter. It could probably be 2 or 3 minutes shorter, but I don't really think that makes any sense. It's just not worth it for the car and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not sure about this timing. I might just get jipped. It's going to be really tight. But I think I'm going to end up getting jipped, which is very frustrating. If you don't know what I mean by that, it's the clock in, clock out system. It doesn't count seconds. So if you clock in at the end of a minute, you get obviously a pretty big benefit, whereas if you clock in at the beginning of a minute, you just get jipped in terms of your time and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to end up just getting jipped. Yeah, I did. I'm just going to end up getting jipped, which is a shame, but not sure what I can do about it. Because again, it's another instance where I just feel like I left so much earlier, and I still, I don't know. Maybe I did leave at a similar time as yesterday. I don't really remember. And I don't think I specifically said it yesterday. I just said I left early. I didn't say, when I left. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really get it either. But yeah, we kind of got gypped. So, is what it is. But again, I thought it was a productive episode. Kind of felt like some brain cells returned. And yeah, but of course most of this falls on... I was going to say, though, I guess the last thing I was talking about was just that there's other systemic issues when it comes to the price of food and the price of housing, that it's not even people's fault, and it's a problem, and I can't just be a better person, and yeah, I don't know, it's just not good. It's not a good situation at all. Now, I had seen places that were it was a one-room situation. So an apartment, but it's just a room. It might just be a room in somebody's house or something like that. But then they have a weird rule no cooking, which is a problem because, I need to be able to cook. But I wonder, I'd be fine with living somewhere like that if they just let me cook once a week. I could cook right in front of a window with a box fan, exhausting all the steam or whatever, all the odor. And I don't really see why that would be a problem, but that's the only issue is like I would love to live in a situation like that because then the rent's only like $800 a month. Well, no, we gotta go, but maybe I'll talk about that another time. Probably will. We'll see. It's been schla, but now it's time to buy schla. So, see you schla.